See the website for details, including how to enter by mail. Smalls, you heard right there, Todd Monken praising Shedeur Sanders, saying he's come a long way. Yet, conversely, a lot of people are saying it kind of feels like it's Watson's job to lose. You read what into what Coach Monken said about the Browns quarterbacks?
That he's keeping it gray for now. I know that he also said that he hopes to name a starting quarterback before training camp. But the fact that he's praising Shedeur and saying that he's...
I don't know if Shady McCoy follows Cleveland media at all, but people have been talking about this being the case for the last couple of months. Like, we've been prepared for this moment where Deshaun Watson is most likely going to be the starter come week 1. Look at the quarterback room, guys. Shedeur Sanders, second-year player. Deshaun Watson, who's been a disaster, but was a former, damn near MVP. He didn't win an MVP, did he? He was up for it. He threw for 5,000 yards and a zillion touchdowns. Gabriel, second-year player. Taylor Green, sixth-round pick, rookie. So you look at that room, it's not hard to say you got a new head coach who's trying to run a new offense with a quarterback that he would like to have some success with, who knows how to be in an NFL offense, and he has Deshaun Watson there. I don't think it's crazy to think that he's going to start. Like, Shady McCoy's acting like it's breaking news. I mean, we're kind of all prepared for it.
$230 million. 3 first-round draft picks, and it might all be about to get pushed aside for a rookie. There are moments in NFL history where a franchise reaches a crossroads so obvious, so undeniable, that even the people inside the building can't ignore it anymore. Cleveland is standing at that crossroads right now. And Chris Canty, a man who spent years in this league, who understands what it takes to build a winning football team, just said out loud what a lot of people in NFL circles have been thinking quietly for months. Shedeur Sanders isn't just competing for a roster spot. He might be about to take somebody's job.
His progressions, getting the ball out, his understanding of concepts, I think he's really come a long way.
The defense was able to have a couple heads up.
They can't quit him, can they? And I get it.
I don't.
Well, here's what I'll say. As a businessman, when you make a sizable investment in something, you want to give it every opportunity to have success. You want to try to find a way to see it through. They guaranteed Deshaun Watson $230 million. Every single dime of that contract was guaranteed. They traded 3 first-round draft picks to get him. Jimmy Haslam wants to give it every opportunity.
To understand where this is going, you have to understand the weight of what the Cleveland Browns are carrying into this season. This isn't a normal quarterback situation. This isn't a team that drafted high, missed, and moved on clean. This is an organization that went all in, traded the future, guaranteed every single dollar on a quarterback who was supposed to change everything. And it didn't work. Jimmy Haslam already stood in front of cameras and admitted it publicly, called it a big swing and a miss. That's not something NFL owners do lightly. That's a man looking at a disaster and having enough self-awareness to call it what it is. But here's the part that doesn't make sense to a lot of people. If you already admitted the mistake, why are you still out here trying to make it work? That question is driving the entire conversation around this Browns roster right now. Because on one hand, you have Todd Monken, a first-year head coach, standing at a podium praising Shedeur Sanders, saying he's grown, saying he's come a long way. That's not nothing. Head coaches choose their words carefully early in OTAs when everything gets analyzed and dissected.
Right there with you, Smalls. I don't think it will. Deshaun Watson hasn't played a full season since 2020. He missed all of 2021. He missed all of 2025. At some point, you have to wonder if the skill set that he has diminished. Now, I get it. He's only 30 years old. And, when you think about today's quarterbacks and how much longevity franchise guys have, that's relatively young.
But in almost the same breath, the narrative coming out of Cleveland is still tilted toward Watson. It's still framed as his job to lose, and fans are exhausted by that framing. Cleveland Browns fans have lived through so many versions of this story. The veteran who just needs one more chance. The offense built around a quarterback who maybe, just maybe, will finally stay healthy and deliver. They've heard it, they've believed it, and they've watched it fall apart by week 6 more times than anyone should have to. So when Canty comes on and says what he said, that the Browns can't quit Watson despite everything, the reaction from the fan base wasn't surprise. It was tired frustration mixed with a little bit of desperate hope that maybe this time, finally, someone inside the building makes the right call. Here's the hard truth about Deshaun Watson that nobody in Cleveland wants to say too loud. He hasn't played a full season since 2020. Think about that. 5 years. Suspension, injury, missed time, and in all the games he did play for the Browns, the production never matched the price tag, not even close. 19 games. That's what that $230 million contract produced. 19 games. And the argument for keeping him in the conversation that he was once a top 10 quarterback is true. He absolutely was, 6 years ago, in a different era, with a different body, and a different set of circumstances.
At one point, a long, long time ago, Deshaun Watson was a top 10 quarterback in the league. Again, let me emphasize, a long, long, long time ago.
Like 6 years ago.
And so what they may look at is say, what if somehow, some way, we may have actually found the one thing that no one could find, which is the quarterback position. Now, you are more likely than not going to be right, is that he is not going to look like QB1, and why not try to put time and development into someone that may end up as QB1 in Shedeur Sanders?
Chris Canty said it plainly. A long, long, long time ago. The emphasis wasn't an accident. That version of Deshaun Watson might genuinely not exist anymore, and the Browns might be the last organization still waiting for him to show back up. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is right there, every single day, competing, learning, getting better. Here's what gets lost in all the noise around Shedeur Sanders. People talk about his father. People talk about the spotlight. People talk about the draft process and the expectations. What they don't talk about enough is how this kid actually handles pressure. Because pressure in the NFL isn't just about reading a defense or making a throw. It's about what happens inside your head when everything around you is loud and uncertain and nothing is guaranteed. It's about walking into a competition where the other guy has $230 million worth of reasons to be ahead of you and still showing up every single day like the job is already yours. That's a mentality. That's something you either have or you don't. And from everything coming out of Berea, from the people actually watching these practices, Shedeur Sanders has it. Todd Monken isn't handing him anything, but he's also not hiding what he's seeing. When a head coach publicly praises a rookie quarterback during OTAs, that's a message, not to the media, to the locker room. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Because even while the praise was flowing for both quarterbacks, Todd Monken walked out of practice and said something that stopped everyone cold. Interceptions, in 7-on-7, no pass rush, open field, and he called it embarrassing. That's a head coach setting a standard from day one. That's not a man managing egos or protecting reputations. That's a man saying, I don't care who you are or what you've been paid. You will meet this standard or we will find someone who does. And that matters more than any individual throw. Because what Monken is building in Cleveland isn't just an offense. He's building a culture, a set of expectations that this franchise has desperately needed for years. Both quarterbacks threw interceptions. Both had good moments and bad moments. But the competition is real. The reps are being watched. What Shedeur showed in those competitive team periods, the tight window throws, the touch, the accuracy when he knew where he was going, that's the kind of football that makes offensive coordinators lean forward in their chairs. The reaction online was exactly what you'd expect. One side ran with the interceptions. Watson is the starter. The rookie isn't ready. Stop forcing this narrative. The skeptics were loud and they were organized, and they had their takes loaded before practice even ended. The other side, the people who've been watching this franchise bleed through bad quarterback decisions for 20-plus years, latched on to every piece of good news about Shedeur like it was oxygen. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, Chris Canty sat down and gave the most honest assessment of the situation that anyone with a platform has offered. This team, he said, needs to ask themselves a real question. Why are you still tied to a mistake you've already publicly admitted? Why not turn the page? Why not put your time, your coaching, your development resources into the guy who might actually be the answer? It's a fair question, and the fact that nobody in Cleveland has a clean answer to it says everything. But here's where the story takes a turn that most people aren't paying attention to yet: the 2027 NFL draft class. Adam Schefter called it potentially historic, comparing it to the 2021 class that produced 8 All-Pro players and 50 Pro Bowl appearances within 5 years. The Browns are being talked about in the context of that draft. They want assets. They want flexibility. They want to be positioned to make moves when that class hits. And that conversation, the draft capital conversation, is directly connected to what happens with this roster. Because if you're moving pieces around to free up resources for the future, you have to look at every big contract, every big commitment. And right now, the biggest question mark on this entire roster isn't just the quarterback competition. It's Myles Garrett. The deferred payment, the fact that the new head coach hasn't had a single face-to-face meeting with his best player, the silence around a situation that should be straightforward. Chris Canty looked at those facts and said what a lot of people were thinking. Myles Garrett might not be a Brown when this season kicks off. If that's true, if this franchise is genuinely in a full rebuild mode, then handing the offense to Shedeur Sanders doesn't just make sense, it becomes the only decision that has any logic behind it.
OTAs continue. Minicamp is coming. Training camp starts July 29th. Every single practice between now and the first preseason snap is a data point, and the coaches are collecting all of them. If you're following this story and you want every update, every breakdown, every honest take on what's actually happening in Berea, subscribe right now and turn on notifications. This quarterback battle is one of the most important storylines in the entire NFL this offseason, and we're covering every chapter. The timeline is tight. Decisions are coming faster than people realize. And by the time training camp opens, this competition might already be closer to decided than anyone is officially admitting. Here's the thing about Cleveland. This city doesn't ask for perfection. It never has. It just wants honesty. It wants a team that believes in the right things for the right reasons. It wants to feel like somebody inside that building is making decisions based on football, not on sunk costs and optics and the awkward math of a contract that went sideways years ago. Shedeur Sanders represents something real, not just a player, a direction, a commitment to the future over the mistakes of the past. Chris Canty said what the moment required. Todd Monken is setting standards that haven't existed in that building in a long time. And Shedeur Sanders is showing up every single day, ready to prove that the future of this franchise doesn't have to look like its past. Cleveland has been waiting a long time for a reason to believe. Maybe, just maybe, that reason is already on the roster.